Hello and welcome to Write the Docs Portland, the virtual version anyway. It's not quite the same being here and not standing on the stage of the Crystal Ballroom, welcoming all of you in person. But we're so happy to have you all here. My name's Holscher, and I'm one of the co-founders of Write the Docs, and I am also the chair of the Portland conference this year. And so we've been doing this for the last few years, and we wanted to start out by kind of acknowledging that the land that many of us are sitting on today did not originally belong to us. And this is a cool resource somebody pointed out last year, is this nativeland.ca. So later today or a little bit after this, if you want to kind of look up online, kind of the history of the land that you're on, it's a great resource. But we'll be doing it for Portland today. So we acknowledge that this land rests on the traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Clackamas, Chinook, Tualatin, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land. So thank you for doing that with me. And we also did this last year, and unfortunately, I think we need to do it again this year and just kind of talk to all of you and just say that we hope you're doing okay. We kind of pushed the last conference back into August, and then this one again is all virtual. And I know it's been a rough year for everyone, and we really hope that the conference has given you something to put on your calendar and to look forward to connecting with a different community and a different group of people than you might in your day-to-day life. And, that's always been one of the biggest reasons that we've done these events, is that sense of connection. But we do miss gathering in a physical place and being in the same space and, sharing these memories together. It's not quite the same looking into a computer screen, even with faces on it, But yeah, so this is kind of the example organizer experience anyway. We call it TabCon behind the scenes. But I just wanted to kind of note, last year we had great success kind of making it still feel like an event, feel like a conference, feel like something meaningful. We loved having that feedback from folks in the community. I also loved that a few people were able to keep some of their traditions alive. The ants on a log there for snack time, and I love these traditions that exist around our space. And yeah, I love that so many folks were able to kind of keep that going, even with a very different year that this year is. So yeah, with that said, a few logistics. So where you are right now is the stage. Welcome, you found it. This is where all the talks will be. And then we are doing live Q&A this year. So after the talks, you'll be able to go into the sessions tab right there. And you'll see a Q&A kind of session there, and that will be where the speakers will go after their talks. I'll be going there after this talk to demo it, and if you have any questions on my talk. Similarly, the Unconference, which is kind of our second track, will be happening in the Sessions tab along with Lightning Talks, which are these short 5-minute talks that you can sign up for today. That'll all be happening there. In the Expo Hall, Google is our only kind of booth sponsor, which will have a booth there all conference. But then on Tuesday morning, the job fair will be there in the Expo Hall. In the sessions, we also have some hallway sessions, just a couple where there's no topic. They're just kind of a place to hang out and chat with people. And then also kind of, if you look over in the sidebar, you'll see a bunch of people's names, and you can kind of search if there's folks here you can kind of do private chat and one-on-one or one in a few video calls and stuff as well. So there's a lot of ways to connect with people. We're definitely excited about that. More logistics. With that live Q&A, we ask that in the chat, if you're asking a question of the speaker that you want to be answered, just to prepend it with a Q and a colon. And that way we have a bot that will kind of curate and aggregate all those so that our moderators can find them and ask your questions. We do have live captioning. The link should be in the top of the chat with a sticky note by our lovely human captioner, Vanessa. And then if you have any questions or you need anything in the expo hall, we also have a help desk. And so that's where some of the staff and folks will be kind of hanging out to answer some of your questions. And then we are, living in the virtual world. So if we have some kind of technical issues, we do have a Slack backup, which is the WTD conferences channel. So if you find that Hopin has, mysteriously crashed or anything like that, that's the place to go. If you just go to writethedocs.org/Slack, you can get an invite if you're not already signed up. So logistics out of the way. Why are we all here? What are we doing here? We ask ourselves that, from time to time. But in this kind of specific space, really the goal here is community. This is different from a lot of events out there, but really our goal has always been to kind of bring people together and to build that sense of community within the software industry around people who care about documentation. Really feeling that sense of connectedness to people who have similar interests, similar kind of values, and really kind of building those connections. I think the last year or two has really shown the value of those the communities that we can all have, both in physical as well as virtual spaces. And one of the big things that we always like to talk about is that this isn't just an event for technical writers. I'm not a technical writer. I'm a developer. There's lots of people on our team that are kind of wear all sorts of different hats within organizations. And so Mikey, the chair of our Prague conference, actually made this lovely graphic that just kind of shows all the different people who might be in the room, right? So he might be sitting in an unconference talking to a librarian and a developer and a tech writer, or whatever else. There's a wide range of folks here, and we really strive to have that outcome. And so this would actually be our 9th year of doing real events, but really we're going to call this year 2 because of the second year we've been doing these virtual events, and it's the 4th one we've done. So we feel like we still have no idea what we're doing. This is not completely true. We have a few good ideas, but what this really means is that nothing here is like set in stone. If you talk to us, if you give us feedback, if you give us ideas, we're super open and receptive to that kind of stuff, especially things that can change. There's lots of things that are set in stone in the context of just the schedule and that kind of stuff. But we love tweaking things, we love improving things, and if you have ideas for how to make the event better, we're all ears and always excited to do things that make the experience better. So I've kind of set the stage a little bit, but to kind of when you sit down today and tomorrow to kind of really experience this event, I want you to think about what your job is. What are you here to do? And I always like to think that the biggest thing is to make friends, to learn something, and to have fun. I strongly believe that a professional world can be both fun and professional, and exciting and invigorating, and we're all kind of excited to learn and teach and be kind of together with each other. But I think making those connections, being able to kind of bring people in as acquaintances and friends and building your network in your professional life makes it just a much more fulfilling, overall experience. So that's why Make Friends is there first. We have lots of amazing speakers sharing all sorts of knowledge, lots of attendees sharing lightning talks and unconference and everything else. But we're here to have fun. We're here to make friends, and we're definitely here to learn stuff along the way. And so how do we act in this space to facilitate that outcome, right? We're welcoming, we're open, we're supportive, and we're positive. We really want people to feel that it's safe to share some of their, vulnerability, some of their kind of, ideas that, obviously are professional and contextually relevant. But we want people to be really receptive. And, if somebody talks about a tool, definitely don't say that it's terrible or anything like that, right? We're all here to kind of grow and to kind of be together in the kind of environment that we want to foster here. And so this isn't something we can do too much, but we can actually do it in our social spaces. So I went ahead and included it this year, which is, when you're standing in a group of people, always make sure to kind of allow people to join in on your conversation. And virtually that just means, welcoming people as they come into a space, as much as possible, and just like making sure that people feel included and able to join your groups when you're having conversations or that kind of stuff. And then similarly, there's lots of people who have been coming to these events for a long time. And there's lots of people who just came, for the first year. And we like to put more responsibility on the folks that have been coming for a long time to kind of make it feel welcoming and inclusive. So the way we think about this is for every year that you've attended a Write the Docs event, we encourage you to meet one new person a day. So for me, I probably have to meet 9 new people today. So definitely come up and say hi. But if it's your first year, we just hope that you meet one new person today, right? It's a very, very manageable goal. We want it to be above 0, hopefully. But that's really how we think about this is the people that have been here the longest have more responsibility for making sure that the newer people feel welcome. But we do want to kind of, maintain that connection is really, and meeting new people and learning is the goal here. It's not just sitting and watching talk videos. That said, you have permission to meet anyone who's here. There's no one above you or even if somebody's speaking or organizing, they're still doing this stuff day to day, and they're totally approachable. But you also have permission to maintain your mental health. Don't feel, if you're not up for it, don't feel like you have to do this stuff. We're just trying to kind of give some examples. Since it is a virtual event, in person we do lanyards to kind of like specify your comfort in having screenshots taken of you. Please just ask before posting something that has people's faces or words in it, because we realize that the norms around virtual events are still forming, and so if something's super zoomed out, maybe it's okay to post. But we really, if there's anything that you would think would be personally identifiable, we really do ask that you confirm with folks that it's okay that you post it. Along those lines, we do want to kind of mention that we have a code of conduct and we enforce it in this space. The code of conduct really is a minimum, right? You can think about it as like laying out the kind of guidelines for what, we will do if you misbehave. But it is certainly not a standard that we hold you to. We expect, much more from all of our attendees than simply not violating our code of conduct. We expect people, as I was just saying, to really kind of be on their best behaviors and really exemplify the community spirit that we wish to have. But the code of conduct does apply to all conference spaces, and we do follow a standard process. We have documentation written on how to handle reports, and we'll keep everything confidential as needed. And just kind of as a note, intent isn't magic, but it does make a difference. And so it's not like somebody's going to come in and just like have a big code of conduct issue just because you slipped up, right? It's like the way your intent behind things, the way you respond when you're corrected, anything like that. We really just want people to be good actors, and we understand people make mistakes. So if you do have a code of conduct issue, or even if you're not sure, but you think there might be one, talk to an organizer or somebody at the help desk, at the conference or really anytime you're interacting in the community at meetups, anything like that. You can always email conduct@writethedocs.org to report any code of conduct issue anywhere in our community spaces. And as I said, if you're not sure, just, go ahead and let us know. If you're not sure, but then like 3 other people also aren't sure, but we hear about it a lot, that's probably something that's still making people feel uncomfortable. So in real life, this is when we would bring all the lovely humans that help make this conference happen up on the stage. But we're going to have to make do with photos this year. But I do just want to kind of shout out to everybody here. The staff and the organizers really make this event what it is every year. It's really amazing. And this is all the organizers, and also our captioner and our AV tech are in there down at the bottom right. So that's how to kind of get into the spirit of the conference. I do want to talk a little bit about, what is the actual conference? What are all the events? I touched on them a little bit at the start, but I want to do a little bit more context there. So hopefully, one of the things I always do on Saturday is we can't have a hike, but I keep up that tradition of going on a hike. I went up to Tumalo Falls here in Bend. And I know a few other folks maybe did a hike in up to BipoC Mansion in Portland if the weather was good enough for it. So we just, one of those things that we're definitely going to do again once we, get together in person. Also yesterday was the writing day. People kind of gathered together and are able to kind of work on projects and share ideas and really engage over kind of the craft of writing, which is something that's really exciting and we love doing every year. And then today and tomorrow on this main stage, we have 2 days of wide-ranging content. And if you did submit a talk and it didn't get submitted, every year we have to reject a lot of really, really great talks. So we'd love for you to, submit them to your local meetups, submit them to some of our Quorum meetups and our Prague and Australia conference. There's lots of other places to get on stage. And then we do have that live captioning, as I mentioned, and then moderated Q&A in the sessions after the talks. Lightning talks are super, super exciting. I think it's a lot of people's introduction to public speaking. And so you can sign up in the form in the reception tab. There's a Google form where you can sign up until, the sign up ends at the talk before lunch. So once that talk starts, you can't sign up anymore. During that talk, we'll kind of decide who gets to speak. And then right before lunch, we'll ping all the speakers. So you have a little bit of prep time. And then directly after lunch, we'll do the talks. So they're live, slides are optional, and it's great for new or experienced speakers to get out and share some ideas. Similarly, the Unconference runs in the sessions tabs all day today and Tuesday after the job fair. Think of it as a second track or a structured space for spontaneous conversations. So there's a sign-up sheet where you can put your ideas, and then people can look at the sheet, see what's happening, and join in on conversation. So say you want to talk about, doc analytics or, search or, scientific documentation for scientific software, docs for scientific software, whatever, you can put in a session and people will kind of join you if they're interested. And it's a great way to find other people who are interested in the same things. And you can just drop in, you don't need to sign up to attend, but you do need to sign up to actually host a session and then show up. And there's a cheat sheet in there that talks a little bit more about, how to do things. But don't feel like you're trapped. If you join one and it's not for you, feel free to leave. But definitely don't wait for other people to suggest your idea, right? Like it might be a little intimidating, but definitely, go out there and suggest something. And then if you are one of the hosts, you should definitely, make sure you're moderating the conversation or assigning someone who can do that. If you have other stuff going on, just make sure someone's kind of making sure people are able to talk and that kind of stuff. So new this year, I'm really excited about this. We're doing our social event in a spatial chat program. So it actually approximates real life and you're able to kind of gather in proximity and join in groups. And I think it's hard to explain, but it's very obvious once you show up. So we're excited to see people there. It's today at the end of the conference from 5 to 7. We moved it forward a little bit just so it'd be a little more approachable for folks in other time zones. And, we know that everyone doesn't want to spend their whole evening with Write the Docs folks necessarily. So we do have most of our sponsors at the job fair this year. So this will be Tuesday morning, and it'll be in the expo hall. So lots of, I think we'll have like 6 or 7 booths of people that are hiring and looking to hire folks in the audience. So go ahead and, check that out. Similarly, our welcome wagon put together a lovely guide. Hopefully some of y'all got to read it and did some tours around the venue yesterday. And they're also helping out in the help desk to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump over to the help desk in the Expo tab. And then we do have that guide on the website with some pro tips and some frequently asked questions for how to get the most out of the conference. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody. Of course, our speakers are a huge part of the conference. They did a ton of work putting their talks together. All the staff and organizers, our sponsors, of course. Like we really couldn't do, the job fair. Obviously, we couldn't do without the sponsors, but a lot of the other stuff, they're really the ones who can kind of, make some of the nicer parts of the event happen. And then also just the attendees, right? Like we've been doing this for a long time, but it's not quite the same if nobody shows up, right? And we've had record attendance this year, over 700 people registered. And so, we really just feel fortunate to be able to put together events for such a lovely group of people. And so it's a privilege to work to organize these events for y'all. But it's also, we're so honored that you choose to spend your time with us. And with the events that we put together. So I just want to thank everybody, right? If you're hearing these words, you're a part of what we're doing here. So thank you. So I do just want to kind of call out our sponsors. They'll be, scattered around the website and the conference videos and all that kind of stuff. But, every one of these companies is really supporting everything we do here, and we appreciate it. All right. So that is kind of the overview of everything that's going on at the conference and everything. And I also like to kind of talk a little bit about the world outside of the conference, right? Write the Docs kind of isn't just a Portland conference anymore. We have a much larger community really all around the world, which is pretty awesome. So one of the cool things is that we have conferences in Portland, Prague, and Australia. And one of the neat things enabled by kind of the virtual events is having that ability to kind of combine the Australia and India conferences. Those communities came together last year to kind of do a shared conference, and it worked really well. And that's one of the cool things about virtual events. We're not as constrained by physical space. We also have meetups all across the world. They're definitely slowing down a little bit because of going virtual and whatnot. So it hasn't been quite as active, but there's still lots of good stuff going on with the Quorum meetups here in the U.S. And I think we've talked about doing one in the Europe time zone, Europe and Africa, of course. And then so they've moved online, and we're hoping they'll come kind of roaring back after we can meet up in person again. Then, of course, we have our Slack and our newsletter, which are huge. Our Slack has a whole lot of members, and there's just people on there kind of 24/7 sharing ideas, sharing experience. It's a really, really awesome place. So if you're not already signed up there, I would pretty highly recommend it, though you may need to mute a couple channels. And then, of course, we have our newsletter, our conference mailing list as well. But our newsletter is our big kind of monthly thing. And one of the cool things that we do there is we actually kind of distill 3 or 4 of the interesting Slack conversations that happen down into a summary and send that out. So our newsletter team works on that. And that's definitely a little easier to follow than the Slack network. I don't know if a single human could follow every message in the network. Certainly not while having a full-time job. But yeah, it's been really kind of cool to see the community really kind of, I don't know if thrive's the right word, but it's certainly persisted through this kind of shutdown of the world, and seeing people kind of really come together in the virtual spaces has been really gratifying. It really shows the power of connection and all the cool stuff we're doing here. So speaking kind of globally, I also want to kind of talk a little about locally. We've had our kind of our grants program going for a few years. And this year we actually had a couple sponsors that were the Linux Foundation and Slack, who gave a pretty good amount of money to our grant program. We also had more than 30 attendees who also kind of gave money to that program. And to be honest, we weren't able to spend all of it. So we did something a little bit like this last year around the Black Lives Matter protests and movement, and so we thought that we're in a really lucky position to be able to do something similar again, and take some of that money that we didn't spend and kind of invest it in building up some of the other folks in our communities in Oregon that we really wanted to kind of give back to as well. And so we're doing something similar to what we did last year, which is a $1,500 matching campaign. And I want to talk a little bit about the groups we're kind of pointing people towards. But certainly one of the big things is, if there's a local group, you live in a different place, probably, you have different priorities. If there's a group doing similar work or really great work that you want to support, that's totally fair as well. So the first is the Black Resilience Fund, which is actually just giving money to people who need it, and really just trying to kind of help people get through the last year, which has been pretty rough. One of the other ones is the Water for Warm Springs campaign, which is one of the indigenous peoples who are here in Oregon, have been not having clean water for all their community, which is a pretty pretty unfortunate given this day and age. And so there's a campaign there to help kind of work on that. And then similarly, I know the AAPI community has been having some rough times this year, and so we wanted to also call out the Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon as one of the other groups. But like I said, there's lots and lots of people out there doing good work, and so we're still trying to figure out how to do this, and we're doing it a little differently than last year, and we'll probably do it a little bit differently next year. But yeah, so this is our kind of idea this year, but we're going to do that matching campaign. And so you can email whatever receipts for your donations to support at writethedocs.org, and we'll kind of bundle all those up in a month or two and kind of give all the money, and we'll do a blog post on our site, kind of saying what the results were when we do that. So that's just like one way that we're hoping to kind of give back this year. Write the Docs is a pretty shoestring operation, but we really do. We feel like we're in a position to help out some other folks this year. We feel pretty fortunate in that way. One of the other, kind of similarly themed things is we have our BipoC channel in Slack. And the organizers there have been doing a really great job kind of trying to build community. I believe there's also an unconference kind of hosted by some of the same folks here at the conference this year. But yeah, they've also put together some links to share in the newsletter, and just really providing a space for folks that might not feel otherwise safe or welcome to kind of feel a little bit more at home. And we really love that that's going on in our community, and want to support the folks doing that work, and just call them out for doing good stuff. So kind of looking at the future, Write the Docs, we have all these events. We do lots of other things throughout the year. We have the Slack network. But last year we were going to do an East Coast conference to kind of complement our Portland event. Obviously that didn't happen. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen again next year. In 2022, we hope to be back live in Portland. But we also realized that there's a lot of unknowns around the future of conferences and events, and there's going to be a lot of change. And I think next time we do in-person events, we're gonna kind of be starting from scratch a little bit all over again. So we're probably going to keep it pretty toned down and constrained, and not try any new growth or experiments in that way next year. But hopefully we'll be back in person at least. And then so much of this year has been figuring out how to move things online, how to support our community. And I would say we've done like an okay job. I don't think we've done a great job, but I think we've been able to do some cool stuff. We've gotten like a Zoom account for the meetups to share. We've been doing these quorum meetups, mostly community run, but we've been kind of supporting them where we can. But we're really trying to kind of think through what else we could be doing here to helping the community being online, because most of the time we can't gather at conferences or meetups, even in normal times. So one of the ideas we've been kind of thinking about that I just wanted to kind of put out there is some kind of membership or supporter model. So currently Write the Docs, basically almost our entire budget comes from conferences. So if we're like, oh, we have this cool idea for something we should do, and it requires, paying someone to make it sustainable or to bring it to life, it's really hard to do, because we kind of have to like put it on a conference budget, hope that we can make a profit at our events, and then that turns into basically our operating budget for the whole year. And so we're looking at other ways to get money coming in so that we can do more stuff in a more sustainable manner that doesn't depend on our conferences. One of the tricky things here is one of our kind of core beliefs and values is that, the information and the value that we produce should be accessible to everybody. All of our talk videos, all of our website guides, all of our newsletter content, everything we've done to kind of address and kind of build knowledge within the software documentation ecosystem is available just online. And that's something we really believe in to make it accessible to everyone. But that kind of limits some of the options for making money. And so we're thinking, supporters might get swag, they might get some kind of like gratitude, kind of, we're obviously going to say thanks a bunch, but trying to kind of wrap our head around what that looks like, to try and be able to support the community more in a more sustained manner. And also just kind of, after some near-death experiences with the conference and the community and the whole organization with COVID, it was kind of a wake-up call that we need to have more ways to make money other than conferences. So just something we're thinking about, and don't be surprised if you see something like this coming up here soon. And so with that, that is the end of the introduction. Thank you so much for watching. You can always find us on Write the Docs on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you're going to tweet about or Instagram or anything about the conference, just use that Write the Docs hashtag. No year or name or anything. And then definitely jump on the Slack if that's of interest to keep in touch throughout the year. So with that, I will be going over. I always get it wrong, to the Q&A to answer any questions you have about, the conference, the community, anything like that. And I just want to say thank you and welcome to the event. And we're excited to have you here. So thanks so much.